Tonight I want to talk about what a skylight is on a deck house. The deck house roof is a lot different than the standard roof. The deck house roof starts with your beams. On top of that you have your 3x6 decking. A typical house has rafters 16 inches on center. Your deck house has beams that are 8 feet on center. A little bit different. On top of that you have your felt paper, and on top of that you have your insulation. Depending on what year the house is built, varies with the thickness of the insulation. When deck house started, it was 1 inch of cork. Insects love cork. Not very good. Then we started getting to the polyiso-cyanurate insulation. 1 inch, 2 inch, 4 inch. Today it's 6, and I believe they're even increasing the code to be 8 inches of polyiso-cyanurate insulation. On top of that you have your sheathing after 1982. Before 1982 there was no sheathing. So that's why you want to try to get a contractor that knows deck house in there, not just anyone. If he's worked on a deck house before, it's going to be a better job. I forgot to introduce our guest speakers. Sorry. We have Neal Lojek from Velux, and District Manager, do I have that correct?
That is correct.
Tim O'Neal. So at the end, they're going to fill you in all the correct information that I probably said wrong on the Velux Skylights. All right? So in the very beginning in 1959, I believe that our deck houses had Wasco skylights. Domed plexiglass skylights that a lot of times, well, over time, will cloud up, will discolor from UV rays and just break down. Skylights from 1959 all the way up. If you're redoing your roof, you definitely want to replace your skylight. Even if it doesn't leak, you have a contractor that's redoing your roof, ripping that thing out, jogging it. You have seals in there that are going to get disrupted. You put that old skylight back on a $10, $20, $30, $40,000 re-roof. Now, you know, down the line, if that thing leaks, it's just going to be finger pointing. You have an old skylight on a brand new roof. You want to change your skylights, okay? They do that, you get a new skylight up there with the entire roof system, everything is new. So if there's any issues, then you go back and discuss and figure out what's going on, but you definitely want to change out your skylights. Most of you have a 3-pitch on your deck house. It's a very low pitch, but you can put a deck-mounted skylight on there. If you wanted to replace a skylight, the Wascos are one size. The Veluxes, unfortunately, might be something slightly different. If it's a fixed skylight and you want to keep it fixed and not have it operable, you can go with a curb mount skylight and you don't have to change a thing. Because the deck house roof system is a little bit different than all the other roofs, if you're changing out a skylight and you want it venting, you may have to go with a bigger skylight. So it's a little more construction involved. You need to cut out your 3x6 decking, build up around the skylight opening, and then put on your roofing. A curb mount skylight is a skylight that goes on top of a curb. Basically, you're building up 2x4s or 2x6s on your roof, flashing up around that, and then your skylight goes on top of that. A deck mount has flanges in it that go right onto the plywood of your roof. So that gets integrated into the flashing system and shingles of the roof, where again, the curb mount gets built onto a curb. When you're putting in skylights, if you have condensation buildup around your skylights, a lot of times it's not the skylight. It's lack of insulation around your skylights. When you have a breakthrough of your roof system, whether it's a plumbing vent or a skylight or a chimney, if it's not insulated properly, hot air from your house is going to escape in the wintertime towards a cavity, cause condensation inside, and drip down. So you might have an issue around what looks to be a leak around a skylight, but if it's not raining, it's condensation. So you definitely want to make sure when it's installed that they insulate it properly around that skylight. So skylights, they're not just skylights anymore. There's still the fixed, there's still the vented, but when you get a chance tonight, before it gets dark, go into the men's bathroom, even if you're a woman. They are, if no one's in there, sorry. We have a sun tunnel in there. It's basically a skylight on the top that lets light travel right through to the bottom. For 2 years, I've been trying to shut off the light in the bathroom, and the light isn't on. It's the sunlight coming through. It works great. We have a solar hot water collector here that we put on about 2 years ago. That's something to think about. They have solar power skylights. So on a deck house, you ever try wiring a deck house? Anyone? You can't. It's very difficult. So what Velux has is a solar powered skylight. So you don't have to try to run wires. It has a solar panel that absorbs the sunlight, and you have a remote that I believe lasts about 50, opening and close it 50 times, even if it's dark for those 50 times. So it also has a rain sensor that closes automatically if it's raining. So if you leave and you leave your skylight open, it'll automatically close. All right? Now I'm going to let the guys from Velux talk more about skylights to touch a little bit on what I might have missed.
Thank you. I'm Neal Lojek from Velux. And as Steve said, we welcome any questions, specific questions you have after we're done. We'd be glad to. We'll miss the first period of the Bruins game. Just a couple of things, just to be perfectly clear. There is a pitch requirement on our deck-mounted skylights. Deck-mounted skylights, like this one here, is most of what we see in this area. Okay, so most of the skylights we see are deck-mounted, and they have a 14-degree pitch. It's a low pitch, about 14 degrees of pitch, which is approximately 3 and 12, 3 inches of rise, 12 inches of run. And below that, we guarantee that when you put in a deck-mounted skylight on a 3 and 12 pitch and it's installed properly, we guarantee it for 10 years that it won't leak. And that's a 10-year no-leak warranty. And that comes with every skylight, no matter who puts it in. So we always, say have a qualified, experienced deck house type of contractor, because it is particular to deck houses that you're going to want to know the details. Now, below a 3 and 12, if you have a low pitch, then you can use a curb-mounted skylight. These are guaranteed down to dead flat. If you had this is just a cross section of a curb-mounted skylight. This, as Steve mentioned, it is mounted on a curb. The curb is integral with the skylight. Okay, so whoever the roofer or contractor would take care of installing the curb, flashing it, and this covers it. This is guaranteed on low pitches, regardless of the roofing type, and when it's installed properly, then it's going to bring light and ventilation into the spaces. That the reason that into the spaces of a deck house, the reason skylights go so well with deck houses is the middle of the homes really need the light. And I'm sure I'm not telling you something you don't know. Everyone enjoys the skylights, I'm sure, in the deck houses. But it's very important that you specify and get the correct type of skylight, so that you don't have any leaking problems. The last thing any of us want is any kind of worry about leaking when you put in a skylight. You enjoy the ventilation and the daylight that it brings in without any of those worries, and that's what the 10-year no-leak warranty is about. Steve also mentioned the sun tunnel. Again, it can be placed in places where you have difficulty, like the bathroom, where it's impossible to bring daylight in any other way. It's a tubular skylight. It just channels light down through a very highly reflective, 99% reflective tube, and it drops that daylight right into a bathroom, a closet, a laundry room, anywhere where you may need light at a minimal cost. Fixed skylight doesn't open. Venting manual skylight naturally opens with a pole. Some of you probably have those. And then, as we mentioned here, an automated solar-powered skylight. There's a battery in the skylight, charged up by the solar panel every day when the sun comes up, charges the battery up. It has multiple operations. As Steve said, you could start opening and closing it when the sun went down, and you probably wouldn't have time to run the battery down all the way before the sun came up again and started charging the battery. It's great in deck houses because there's no electrician, there's no routing wires around you, the beams and so forth, which is Always a lot of fun. It's self-contained. It's entirely solar powered. There is a rain sensor which is triggered when it senses raindrops, and it will close if you went away and you left your skylight open when it started to rain. Solar powered shades and blinds available in all of our standard skylights, so you're able to filter the light or entirely block the light with the solar powered shades and blinds.
Blinds also increase the efficiency of your skylights, so they increase the thermal efficiency. So you could actually program with your remote your blinds to close during the winter every night at 5 p.m. and open at 7 a.m. And they increase dramatically. It's about 45% an increase in the thermal performance of the skylight. So it's not just for controlling light, it's for making your skylights more efficient as well.
The solar powered shades and the solar powered skylight are subject to the 30% federal tax credit available for solar devices.
Placing an existing skylight, Steve mentioned it before, it might not be a perfect fit, right? It might be a little bit of work that has to be done. Any work that would have to be done, including extra materials, if you're using a solar skylight, that whole project gets a 30% federal tax credit.
Wow.
It makes it really competitive price-wise. Like Neal said, to a manual that you have to use a control rod, this remote. We find that people use these because all you have to do is touch a button, or you can program them, and they're just much more user-friendly. Yes?
Do the shades operate, can you hook up a light sensor to the shades so that you can sort of set a desired level of light?
No, you'd have to control that. You could do it by time, but right now, this is our engineer, so we'll get those questions. We do have an interface, but I'm not sure how you would make that work with a light level. We do have an interface, and we may want to explore that. Because you could hook it up to like a Home Genius type system, and you could thermostatically control it, for instance. If your room got to a certain temperature, they would automatically open. But I don't know. That's the first time I've been asked that question. So.
Two things with snow covering the rain center, the solar panel. One, it stores the energy in the battery, so it would operate even if it was covered.
100 times. We store 100 cycles of opening and closing.
Okay. And two is, how many times do you open your skylight when it's covered with snow?
Yeah. No, I get that, but I agree. I'm just thinking about operating the shade itself, but I assume that's not going to be as energy consuming as the opening and closing of the skylight itself.
Yeah, you'd get a lot of cycles, 100 cycles again of your shade. If you didn't see the sun for a month, you'd still be able to control it.
Great.
That's a good question though, because one thing we have run into, I had somebody from Maine at a home show a year or two ago say, your skylights are too efficient. I said, oh my God, it's the first time I've heard that. He goes, my old skylights, the snow used to melt right off, and that doesn't happen anymore. So they are more efficient, so they could have snow on them a little bit longer than in the past.
We replaced our original skylight from a 1968 house, probably 2005, with a Velux, which I love. It's smaller than the original space. But at that time, we didn't have a professional deck person to install it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the window, but we have intermittent leaking, which is maddening because no matter how many roofers come and check it out, is it from the chimney going underneath everything and coming out?
Sure.
They have replaced it. They've done, and I just don't know where we go from here. And I never know, is there, when we go away for any period of time, I have to leave a pan under it so that when if it pours, it might come in.
Well, we want to get out there and we want to take a look.
Thank you.
And we'll tell you what's going on with it.
Excellent.
We'd love to have your contractor who installed it there at the same time with us.
I don't think so.
Okay. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But okay, but no, we really want to take a look at that.
Okay.
We have service technicians who take care of our warranty issue, and if it is our product, and we're not perfect, we do have problems occasionally.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's the window, I think it's the installation.
Sure. Well, let us look, and we'll be able to tell you exactly what it is. And we have a tech rep who may be able to even fix that problem for you. Or if not, if it's above and beyond that, if something really has to be done, we could get a contractor who's familiar with this type of construction to get out there. We'll meet them out there, we'll tell them what we found, and we'll get you through that, because we can't have that. So, but you need to get us out there. Guys, you know, we were actually talking at lunch today about, we were at a job yesterday. It was somebody else's skylights, a competitive skylight. But these things have been leaking for 13 years and they've done nothing about that. And we're like, oh my God, how could they do that? So they're actually replacing them with Velux. Again, I won't say who the manufacturer was, but the homeowners lived with it for 13 years, and they, you know, call us. You know, we're here. We have guys, Velux employees with service vans who do our warranty work. So we can get out there and make sure we get it corrected for you.